catch WA racing action live and free on 7+, and the Pearce brothers have had a wonderful time of it, and they took out the Karrakatta plate with their superstar filly Talk & Co., who was too strong, this daughter of I Am All the Talk, and Dan joins us now. Congratulations, Dan. Well done, mate.
Yeah, thanks a lot, mate. Yeah, it was a great thrill, and she's certainly going to be a nice filly moving forward.
Yeah, what a filly she is. Obviously, she wasn't the... Every time she stepped out in a gym crack and even a supremacy, she was always at a good each-way price. And then finally, I think on Saturday, the market finally respected her and she started a solid second favourite. But she just proved that she's bomb-proof in a way.
Yeah, well, she's got a lot of raw ability. She's quite a big, probably more of a 3-year-old sort of style and type of horse. But yeah, she's got a big motor, and she tends to be finishing as the preparation goes on, or as she gets more race experience, I guess. But yeah, no, look, she's a very nice horse, and certainly exciting to have in the stable.
Yeah, just talk us through her story. Where did you buy her from?
No, Ian Riley bred her. She's a half sister to Rich and Co, who we train, and he had her there in the paddock and asked us to come and have a look. He put some of his friends into her, and we took a share in her ourselves, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, and did she always show you the ability that she could be winning a Karrakatta? Obviously, She started an odds-on favourite in a Crystal Slipper, but was defeated then by Yes Queen, and that was at the back end of last year. But then since then, Yes Queen started favourite against her, but she's, for the majority of the time anyway, been too good for Yes Queen.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think she probably that first run, Yes Queen led and was reasonably steady in front, and we just struggled to get off the back of her and run her down. But yeah, on level playing fields, she's probably proven to have had Yes Queen's measure. But yeah, and that was the way on Saturday. I thought they both had fair crack at each other on Saturday, and she came out in front.
Yeah. So what do you do with her now?
She'll have a nice break. She won't go on to the sires. She's taken a big effort from the team and everything to get her there and peaking on grand final day, and we'll be happy. She's won her two group races this time in, so we'll be happy to give her a pat and put her in the paddock and give her a decent break, and she'll come back for the Perth Summer Carnival. We just haven't 100% decided which way we'll go. Obviously, the option to step her out through a Guineas and even towards a Kingston Town, or keep her back at that 12 to 1400 trip. We just got to do a bit of thinking on that, but the spell and the preparation leading into it will be the same either way we go. So it's probably a decision we can make down the track and just have a look at her when we get her back into the stable.
What do you think she'll do? Can she get over a trip? What kind of feel does she give everybody at home?
Yeah, I think so. She's certainly got enough scope type-wise. The way she's running through the line would suggest that. I don't think she's almost dropped the bit on Saturday. She's sort of around the 600-metre mark. You thought, how are we travelling here? She come off the bridle, but so yeah. Look, my gut feel says maybe the out to the mile won't be a problem, but yeah, we'll just give that a bit of thought, and like I say, it's not something we have to rush into, and we can gauge what we think when she's back in the yard and have a look at her.
Can you compare it to the other Karrakatta winner and dig deep?
I think you probably could, but they're both horses that you look at type wise and you think, geez, that's going to make a nice 3-year-old. So I mean, I'm not sure whether that has any bearing on it, but or whether that gives them a little bit more substance and something to work with. But yeah, they're both probably horses that you would think that's going to develop and mature into a really nice type of horse.
What was Quokka Day like and Karrakatta Day there?
Yeah, it was good atmosphere. I mean, I do think that maybe the Karrakatta for the for the sort of race it is and how hard it is to win, I do think it maybe just gets a little bit lost and overshadowed now by the Quokka. I don't know what you do about that, but yeah, it does feel like it's a little bit of a it's such an achievement and such an effort to win a race like that, and you kind of get shoved off to the side to make way for the main event. But yeah, that's probably coming from the person that won the Karrakatta, I guess. But yeah, certainly was a great day, and it's a fun day. It's a sort of everything's about fun and enjoying yourself. And there was a big crowd there, and probably a young crowd, I thought. Maybe I'm getting older, but yeah, it certainly looked like a lot of young people out and having a good time.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting debate to have in a way, is that do you go down the path what they did in New Zealand? They put their eggs in one basket. It was a great turnover day where you have most of your feature races there with the new slot race on that day. And that means you can attract the better riders, etc. there on your premier day with your premier races, or do you share it around and see if you can butter up and get another big crowd there for the Karrakatta? So, yeah, it's an interesting debate to have, but you're right. The Quokka does take centre stage, and the Karrakatta's always been a great day. It's your featured 2-year-old race in the West, and the other argument there is whether you have the Derby on the same day as well.
Yeah, possibly, and there's a few, I'm sure a few smarter people than me will be involved in decisions like that. But yeah, that's just from our point of view. It did feel a little bit like you were sort of hurried out the way for the main event. But maybe you can put in a race in between, just a normal Saturday race in between, so that can be enjoyed a little bit more. But yeah, look, I think nothing taking away from what a fantastic day it was, and how sort of everyone was up and about and excited, and it's a big build up leading up to it, and everyone's over from the East Coast, and it certainly was a great event. And especially when you've paid up for some nice 2-year-olds or yearlings there at the recent sales season right across the country, mate, and it's good to be known for good 2-year-old trainers, and I reckon it can help you sell a few shares. I would imagine if you can prove that you can train a Karrakatta winner. Yeah, exactly, and we're a big stable that very much relies on syndicating horses out, and so it's great to sort of reassure the people that have gone into it that you know what you're doing, I guess. So yeah, look, it's good, and it boosts it boosts the stable, it boosts the staff, it boosts the owners and everyone getting results like that, and that's what it's all about. And it certainly makes it a lot easier getting up in the morning knowing that you've got a nice bunch of horses coming through that we've bought this year, and hopefully looking to roll on to next year. Beautiful.
Is there shares available in the next Karrakatta winner? How do we get involved?
We've pretty well tidied up everything this year, which is a great result. But yeah, certainly people can register their interest through our website, and we're always got things happening and things in the mix. So yeah, certainly happy to have a conversation with anyone. Great job, mate. You deserve all the success that comes your way, and yourself and Benny have done a great job. So job well done, mate, and well done on winning the Karrakatta again. Beautiful. Thanks a lot, mate. Chat soon.
There's Dan Pearce. Let's catch up with Peter Anthonisz, who's been brilliant for us throughout the carnival there in Western Australia. And, of course, it came to an end with the running of the Quokka and the Karrakatta there on Saturday. Of course, we've got the size still to come for the 2-year-olds, but Pete joins us now. G'day, Pete.
Yeah, g'day, Gareth.
What'd you make of Quokka Day?
Oh, look, it was, in hindsight, it was a little bit of a strange day. I don't think you go many days, especially when you have a 10-race card where not one favourite lobs, and you go through the quaddie legs and not one favourite even placed. Look, it was a tricky day to find a winner, but look, I think it was good to see the culmination of a lot of those form lines that we've been talking about for the last couple of months, really. Look, the Quokka itself was a really good addition. There was obviously a few below par performances, but it was pleasing to see Joker's Grin sort of reach that level from a local perspective to that point where we all thought he was capable of getting to. He obviously returned with a tremendous performance there first up, basically signalled that he had improved since we'd seen him last preparation. And look, although he might have been a little bit flat potentially second up when he lost that protest, he obviously came out and atoned for it with a Group 1, I know it's not a Group 1, but it was still Group 1 Pat Carberry. He just manages to pull these rides out in the biggest races.
I love Patrick Carberry. You know what? He gets criticised a bit, Patrick, let's be honest. And but you can't argue. He's got. If you had to say, all right, then Gareth, you got to put on a Group 1. You got a Group 1 race, and you got to put on a Group 1 jockey, or a jockey to ride in the Group 1. And in WA, without hesitation, you put Pete Carberry on. His record speaks for itself. He doesn't make mistakes in these big races, and he gets the best out of his horses. And he did it again with Joker's Grin. It was just picture perfect from Pete Carberry.
It was a perfect ride. And look, to ride perfect at Ascot from last, he was basically, second last in run. So I know the tempo was on. They were going at a fast tempo, but still handling that corner. If he doesn't get that angle right, he doesn't win the race. And I mean, look, Headwall's gone completely enormous, being bumped around on the corner, was held up on the turn, towed Joker's Green into it. But Paddy still has to get that right angle in towards the corner so he doesn't lose momentum and keep the horse balanced at the same time. If he doesn't do that, if any other jock is probably on that horse, I don't think he gets over the top of Headwall late.
So how quick did they go? Mickey Gannon said that Overpass has gone basically at the same speed, looking at his figures there with his previous victories at Ascot. Can you explain to me, like, what happened there with those front runners? Like, Front Page was beaten 4.5 lengths.
Yeah, look, to be fair, I just don't think they turned up. The deeper I got into the week last week, Gareth, and I sort of relayed this to a certain degree on Friday with you. But
you did, actually, and I probably said you had no idea what you were talking about, basically,
shout out to our old mate Mark Roden. We've spoken about this a number of times, but aging horses, especially geldings, it seems like mares are able to, handle this a bit better, but an aging gelding that records a new personal best first up, there has to be some level of deterioration that follows from that. You've basically overexerted. You've run, as fast as you possibly can first up, and you're not exactly a spring chicken anymore. So, look, to be fair with Overpass, I mean, you go through a lot of his speeds that he's run previously. It was exactly the same as what he ran in the Winterbottom when he was able to hold on. Obviously, this race is a little bit different to the Winterbottom in terms of, the horses behind him in the field, but you'd still be expecting him to finish off perhaps with another length or two up his sleeve, and he just didn't have that here. Look, Front Page was disappointing, but, the market seemed to love Front Page late. It was obviously very firm on Overpass, but, geez, Front Page, the money just kept coming for that runner late. So I don't know if that was necessarily just the map and the profile of these Eastern States horses transferring across, but, the market completely got it wrong because both of them were well and truly beaten. And, look, in the end, Headwall was a bit softer in the market, and look, probably should have won given, that disadvantage or that bad luck from basically the turn through to the corner. But, look, you can't take anything away from Joker's Grin. It was probably just a bit humorous when you saw the tote odds come up after the race, Gareth, and you see $25 for a horse that was basically $8 about a week and a half ago.
And Bernie, it was one of my favourite chats that I've ever had, really, with Bernie Miller yesterday. What a great man he is. And he was just explaining, he couldn't believe the price, but I reckon the gate was a factor because we thought he would get back to last, and I think everyone thought that the two up front, Front Page and Overpass, would dominate. Second of all, the Boss Lady went past him, but Bernie just said he just switched off. It wasn't that he got tired or he wobbled around. It was just because he just didn't know what to do. And then obviously after the race, the talk about how he worked there on Saturday, the Saturday week before the quokka, he never worked better. So what did we learn, Pete? So what did we learn from all of this when you sit back and analyse this quokka? From a punting perspective, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you read the race and you think that and I asked Bjorn Baker that question you pointed out regarding peaking, and then seeing if you can if you had the ability to improve off that or just stay at that level. And Bjorn played it down a little bit, saying about sometimes you can't read too much into numbers, and they did walk and then they sprinted in that TJ Smith, and it wasn't that hard of a run. But then you watch him there on Saturday and he wasn't quite at his best. But I don't know. It's like it's a hard one when you sit back and say, what did I get wrong in this race? How come we rode off Joker's Grin? Now, you're over Headwall. and Generosity runs third. And Western Empire, like he was probably a little bit, like he's just not 1,200 metres, not a 1,200 metre horse. The Boss Lady didn't back up in a way. So I don't know. What did we learn from Saturday?
Well, it took a good probably 45 minutes to get through the replay. There was a lot of interference there in towards the corner. And look, I think I've been saying it all preparation or all season, Ascot has been playing so well. And when you get a track that's so even and you can make your run from anywhere, it's all about just maintaining your momentum throughout. Look, the leaders obviously had that 1 length break on the rest of the field, so they've got no excuse. They've both basically underperformed. There's no way of sugarcoating it. They've performed below expectations, especially when comparing to the market. But when it comes to all those horses back in the field, I think the Boss Lady's a horse worth following up next start if she has another run, because she was just held up at a vital time and then really was just bumped around to half the straight. I don't think she was only really balanced probably the last 125 metres, so I thought she was a very nice run. Western Empire was just a complete car crash. Pike basically waited behind Crecchetti, who was stopping on the turn, and really that forced Headwall to come out 4 to 5 wide and lost his momentum when he was bumped into the corner. Look, when it comes down to it, it's still a race, isn't it? Like you can't just turn up and just assume that you're going to perform at your best every single start. And for the locals who I guess were, to a certain degree despised behind the Eastern States representation, there's not that much difference between the sprinters when you basically give them, a level playing field on a perfectly even track. And I think we keep seeing that over Reese. We basically keep talking about these horses that win races that are on tracks that are so biased towards the front end, the back end, the inside, the outside, that when you put them all together on an even track and you give them a genuine tempo to contend with, if you're not there at 100%, you're not going to be winning these races. So full credit to the team at Ascot, to Brock Nealing, to Matty Cork. This track has been absolutely perfect all year. And look, if we had more tracks like this around Australia, we'd be having a great time punting.
Yeah, well said, Pete. Well said.
Yeah.
So basically you forgive the Boss Lady, then you forgive Western Empire, and who knows what would have happened if every horse had the best of luck. But Joker's Grin, there's even talk now, like if they're talking up Headwall and overpass for an Everest, why not Joker's Grin?
Exactly right. I mean, we don't know what his best is, do we? I mean, we've seen his best go to a new level this preparation. What's to say if you give him an even faster tempo, he's not going to go even better? What's to say he won't go better going the Sydney way of going? He might appreciate some of the Melbourne tracks. We don't know what he's like down a straight, for instance. I mean, there's just unknowns with him. Look, Bernie Miller's had some pretty good horses over the years. Obviously, Cup Night was one of them, and I don't think we ever saw quite the best potential of Cup Night. But when he gets a good one, he usually handles them pretty well. I can't wait to see what they do with Joker's Grin long term. But look, I would love to see him over here. I don't know how far he'd be able to get, but I think it's worth having a crack, that's for sure.
Yeah, just watching the replay again, like Headwall was massive, Magnificent Andy was great, Joker's Grin was enormous. I reckon Western Empire was disappointing. I think the Boss Lady...
I think it was disappointing late, yeah.
Yeah, and the Boss Lady had her opportunity in a way. Like, they all got bumped, like, with Headwall, but the winners just come from nowhere, basically.
Yeah.
It's a big win. And well done to, like, Simon Miller and with Generosity. So, terrific stories all around. We'll be back to do it again next year. I tell you what would help the Quokka, just got me thinking. Perth Racing should buy a slot in the Everest, and whoever wins the Quokka can go to the Everest, but I don't think that'll be happening. But it would be great to see someone like him. Whether he could, obviously he's got to do it again, Joker's Grin, but he took down a couple of big scalps there on Saturday. Talk & Co. too good. She just keeps on winning, Talk & Co. We just had a chat to Dan Pearce. What a horse she is.
Yeah. And look, you're talking about tempo, Gareth. They've gone very, very quick here. In fact, they were going almost the same speed as what they were going in the Quokka. So I know there was obviously a bigger field with the 2-year-olds, and they do have a tendency to overreach early. But in the end, it was I'm not even sure Talk & Co. had the best run in transit. Again, this is another race that took me the best part of an hour to get through all the replays here, because just on the turn, there was a significant sort of just general slowdown. The horses on pace were tiring in towards the turn, and in the end, it was the ride from Brad who just managed to just hold his line, going back to the inside. He and Just Two Fly, they were the two that just took the shortcut and were able to basically just regather their speed in the straight. Look, probably the best ride of that race was Lucy Fiore on Schnitzer Latte, which was just given an absolute perfect ride from the 3 wide line. She maintained momentum into the straight and almost got the jump on those horses coming back to the inside. But look, I guess that race was a little bit different in that because they went so quick up front, perhaps just being that one pair off them with Talk and Co. just allowed that filly just to conserve a little bit more energy. Yes, Queen, again, was just offered a fair bit of interference on the corner, so it's not really one that you're going to pick up visually. But you have a look at the sectional breakdowns and she's just had a complete nightmare of a preparation, to be honest. She just hasn't found the right race. She was keen in this one and then just was held up into the corner as the horses on speed stopped around her. So, look, the first 4 across the line, they've all gone particularly well. Just to Fly was obviously the bit of the X-Factor horse that Luke Fernie was spruiking and obviously performed well to his expectations. But look, Talk and Co. has been the horse all preparation that looks like she would be loving the 1200 and exactly happened on the weekend. So, look, the market was relatively right there.
Who do you want to be taking into the size from that race?
Well, I will wait and see who actually backs up. I think that's probably because it was such a fast tempo race. I'm not sure how many of these will have another go. But, look, I think Talk and Co. going up in distance is obviously going to be well suited.
No, she's going to Paddock.
She's off to the Paddock? Okay.
Yeah.
Look, Love's Talking is the one that was back in the field, which was a huge flashing light.
Yeah.
Normally a non-speed runner for Luke and his team. Went right back to last 3 wide with cover and was making good ground. So that was the big flashing light out of the 2-year-olds for me going up in distance. But we'll just wait and see. Often a lot of these do tend to drop off at this time of year. So it's a tricky race trying to put it together. I'm expecting there'll be a short favourite in the size as there usually is. And, we'll just wait and see how big the field is.
All right then, mate. What was your highlight from the carnival?
Well, I think it's hard to go past the Quokka. I think, there's been, 3 good editions of the race so far. And look, the arrival of Joker's Grin, I think, has been a highlight. But, I think we might see a couple of nice performances out of that race. As I said, the Boston Lady is the horse that I'll be following going forward next start. But I've been very happy with, the state of the Ascot track and also the performances of the locals. I think we've seen some really high-quality racing this season.
And I don't think I've ever seen a tougher day for punters, as you pointed out. Like, Talk and Co. wins. I think everyone would have had her one out or with Yes Queen. I think everyone was confident it was a 2-horse race in that Karrakatta plate, so that goes to plan. Joker's Grin, people lost faith after that second in the Roma Cup. Headwall was second. Generosity was the surprise there, finishing third. And then Twain's Angel. This was a great story for Matty Derrick to win the Joey, defeating Laced Up Hills and Yonga Lass. But well done to Matty and the Caseys. They had a great day as well on Saturday.
Yeah, they really did. They've been one of those teams that's just managed to pretty much be very consistent throughout the entire year. But then when, it really gets to carnival time, they do tend to get their horses peaking at the right time of year. So, look, they've had a number of good years in a row now, but that's just topping it off once more. So Twain's Angel and Matty Derrick just have a great relationship together.
Yeah, and Laced Up Hills, Saloon Bar was the horse everybody wanted to be on in the Joey. And Ripcord as well.
Look, both of those horses. This race, in terms of the overall tempo, they didn't go particularly quick, and there was a number of hard luck stories from about the 600 to the 200. So that's a race where I'm pretty iffy on the form going forward. You can't really knock the winner. Laced Up Heels is too far back, and given the tempo, but there's a lot of hard luck stories behind them, Gareth. It was a mess of a race in the middle.
Have you done the form for a Wednesday afternoon at Ascot?
I'm just getting it done at the moment. I haven't found anything as yet. We're obviously waiting for the markets to go up, but I'll just basically spend the rest of the day just trying to work through it, and then final Wednesdays in the West there with Miles tomorrow. So we'll try and find a few winners there as we go through the day.
I reckon it's Don't Trust Judas's day tomorrow. Finally, I reckon it can win for Stefan Valhalla and Steve Parnham.
Oh, you have to have a fair bit of trust in that horse. He's well named.
Yes, 100%. Hey, Pete, you've been excellent. It's been some carnival, a lot of fun. It always adds, it's a great build-up to the Western Trilogy. From all 3 codes, the harness racing was some race, and Gary Jr. will join us in just a moment, obviously with the Quokka and the Eastern State, representation, especially with an overpass and also a head wall this year. So it was a great race. It had it all, and well done to Bernie Miller. You don't get any better stories than that. And Deadly Avenger, by the way, was excellent there in the Sandgroper. But it had it all that week.
It really did. There was one for the true believers in terms of, if you're a punter, you couldn't necessarily pick the winners that easily. But, if you got a double or a treble, you're probably halfway to Hawaii at this stage.
Yeah, 100%. Well done, mate. Good on you, Pete. Enjoy yourself.
Cheers,
Thanks
Gareth.
for that. Looking forward to Wednesdays in the West. Mr. Smarty, brilliant drive by G. Hall Jr., brilliantly prepared by G. Hall Sr. He's a lightly raced pacer that took a couple of massive scalps there on Saturday night in the Nullarbor. It was much anticipated, this race. There was plenty of banter. And G. Hall Jr., he got the cash. Unfortunately, he didn't take my bet when I offered him 5 each way on 1,000 to 1. He pulled out, unfortunately for him, but he still got the chocolates. Junior, congratulations. Well done. I'm so proud of you.
Still waiting for the payment.
What do you mean? You didn't want to take it. You said, well, it doesn't stand because you weren't going to lead. Anyway, it worked out perfectly in the end.
Yeah, it did. It's big races. I mean, a lot of races, the speed map can be pretty easy to work out in harness, but that one seemed to stand right out. But I think sometimes, in those sort of races, like the big races like that, it sort of can get all thrown out the window pretty early. But I'm just thankful that we were able to get that forward position before Swayze could get round and get off the inside. And thankful for that, and thankful for the fact that the horse was good enough to still run those times and peel off their backs and show something.
It's not easy to do what he did off the fence in a way, chasing that hot speed.
No, it's not at all. That's the reason why I was, I was confident we'd get the run we got, but I still wasn't confident that that would be good enough to win it, or the horse would be. It's not easy to do that at all. Everyone thinks, you sit in 1-1, it's a pretty easy spot to win from, but I was tapped up most of the way just to try and keep up to the speed. So yeah, it was hot tempo, and it's good to see he's got that much, like that sort of bottom to him moving forward for sure.
When did you think you were going to win?
Oh, probably just after we straightened. I know he always sort of gets down the straight well, and he got round the bend pretty good. And when I got a clear sight of Danny in front and that how she was travelling, and so I could see she was flat out as well. So I was pretty confident then, and I was a bit surprised actually that anything else got that close to them on the line. So a couple of other runners went very good too. Obviously the two leaders went super. He's a Sport went really good as well, as he went forward early and come from one spot further back. And Ronaldo looked like the unlucky runner. He looked like he could have probably beaten everyone if he had got a crack at him.
Yeah, and you have a look at the race, just watching the replay. Mitchell gave his all, but maybe that 5 weeks in between runs was just a little bit too much for him. He's a Sport was flashing out wide, and then Ronaldo didn't have any luck. And Swayze had the audacity. One more stride, he gets in front of Minstrel. What a run he was, really. It had it all.
Yeah, I mean, Swayze did what we thought he'd do in the run and the way he performed. It's just, and the fact that he was still coming on the line pretty hard at Minstrel too on the line, like his last sort of 50, Swayze. It just sort of highlights what I mean about, or why I was sort of confident about what I was saying about Gloucester Park. It's very hard to sort of sit outside of him and bully horses out of it like Minstrel and that, because you just can't sort of run those times and keep it going. The bends just come up too quick, and there's not enough straight line speed involved. So but he was super brave.
Where does that rate amongst your greatest successes in the sport?
Yeah, right up there. Definitely right up there. It's one of those races where ever since it was announced we wanted to win it, obviously, and and to win it for Dad. We've run a lot of great races together with great horses, and this guy looks like another one. So Must have meant a bit to senior too. I heard he did the last 100 down the straight quicker than anything with his arms up in the air. And he comes to work every morning and can hardly walk. So
he was.
How he did that.
He's a passionate man. Your father is a Hall of Famer, and I reckon he's been so great over so many years because he's always got the chip on his shoulder. Sometimes thinking he has to prove himself, but when you get to 75 years of age and have the record that he has, he doesn't really need to. But he doesn't. He doesn't at all. But he just enjoys these challenges. And once again, he was handed another challenge with a few Eastern State stars heading his way, and once again, he delivered. The great man.
Yeah, I think he's just passionate. I mean, like he's loves what he does. Loves the horses, and I think he puts a certain amount of pressure on himself to perform. I think if he wasn't, he'd stop doing it. It's probably as simple as that. But it's a good, it's a. I suppose every sport has it when you're winning at that level, but yeah, it's a feeling you can't sort of. You can't sort of replicate anywhere else, and you can't bottle it up. Like we've had that many great moments with Quinny and Falcon and Bully and that, but you still go in search of those feelings again because they're just hard to replace, and you can't just go back and watch Quinny's replay and relive it and get the same feeling. You have to do it again all over again. So that's why we do it, and that's why we love what we do. Yeah,
and I love. There was a great crowd there. It's one of the best harness crowds I've been to for quite some time. And so hats off to everybody in the West. It's just a great venue, Gloucester Park. And, it brought a smile to my face watching the trots there. And you turn back the clock a little bit with the two halls combining to win a big Group 1. And, it was great for the game. And then, geez, it's been a tough 48 hours for harness racing junior with the loss of Greg Sugars. And he was like when you talk about great reinsmen, you talk about G. Hall Jr., Luke McCarthy, C. Alpha, but Greg Sugars definitely was in that class. He was one of the very, very best. He had that gift to drive a horse. He was like when you watched him, he was like as one with a standardbred junior. So how are you guys going over there, especially you that would have driven against G. Sugars a lot throughout your career?
Yeah, just sort of, like a lot of people, I guess, didn't really sort of believe it at first. Thought it was sort of a misunderstanding and someone had got the name wrong. And the more we learnt about it, the worse it sort of got, and the worse everyone felt. We're actually at the races, like a lot of people that day, and for the Fokker when we heard, and it didn't really sit well with anyone, obviously. So he was, like you say, he was an absolute champion of our sport, and to lose someone like that so young, just I obviously drove against him a lot, and I wouldn't say I knew him greatly personally, but we always had that professional respect when it came to driving against each other and seeing each other. And the last time I saw him was at the Ultimate Driver Championship. Actually, he'd come up there to watch that, and had a chat with him on the Saturday night, and you don't sort of think down the track something like this is going to happen. So it's a hard one to cop. It's people closest to him, I don't know how they go about moving on. It's just totally devastating, and condolences from everyone over here to Jess and the Sugars family. It's it's just no other word to describe it really, other than just utterly devastating.
Yeah, it'll take time, but everyone will get over it. Like, you never get over something like this, but it'll get easier. But yeah, there's a lot of people hurting at the moment in a sport that we both love. Well said, Junior. Congratulations. It was a great build up, and you played a major part. I think the sport needs that type of. You need characters like yourself in the game that can transcend the sport in a way like you did, and Grimo played a part as well, and it was sensational. And Mr. Smarty, tell Senior, do not be soft. Tell Senior, if he wants to be the greatest of all time, he's got to come to the Inter-Dominion to defeat Leap to Fame. Stir him up for me. No.
No, I'd love to go. Obviously,
Why don't you?
Love to take Cyclone Geordie as well, but yeah, it's obviously good fun to travel with horses, but it's one thing to go and win. It's a whole different ballgame about how you go about getting there and the logistics behind it.
Don't give me excuses, just give me results, Junior.
Well, Leap to Fame's there as well. Like, you know, Senior's mad, but I don't think he's mad enough to just want to take him on in his own backyard.
Leap to Fame couldn't have won on the weekend if he had to sit in the breeze.
You don't think?
No. He would have went close.
I think he could have.
We'll never know.
Yeah, right.
We'll never know.
No.
Love
It's
you.
good to have you there too, Gareth. It was like the old days.
It was.
I
I was a bit scratchy there early doors. I didn't know what to do really interviewing you. And
Yeah. You asked someone why they weren't driving that night. They'd been retired for 2 years. So you were right.
That was Kim Prentice, which is a disgrace on Kim's behalf. He should be driving. He looks like as fit as a Mallee bull.
Yeah, he is.
I've watched a few drivers lately there in the West. It wouldn't be too hard to compete. I'm only joking. No, it's a lot of. No, there's a lot of fun.
No, I know you cop a lot of flack, and I'm the first one to give it to you. But no, it's good to have people like you that are passionate about it and try their best to promote it anyway. So I think you did very well in relation to that race, and hopefully we get to do it all again soon.
Well, turnover will be up, I reckon. So we'll see if I've done a good enough job anyway. But I appreciate your time, Junior. Good on you, mate. And enjoy a couple of days off. And don't forget to get that ring and propose to Maddie. I think it's about time you do that. See ya.
See you, mate.
I better make the wedding party.